Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy. Where are we headed?
Today, our where is realistically all over the place.
It's Santa.
Sure is. But where our feller is charged and finally incarcerated is where we're going to go for our hints, okay?
All right.
The place that we'll end up in has over 100,000 earthquakes each year.
California.
You son bitch. Good job. So my other hints were this place also is home to a massive supervolcano called Long Valley Caldera, which lies beneath the mountains near Mammoth Lake. It formed roughly 760,000 years ago. It's approximately 20 miles long by 11 miles wide and 3,000 feet deep.
Ooh.
It's also home to the world's largest trees and tallest trees.
I do want to see the redwoods.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. And the giant sequoias. The redwoods are the tallest, and the giant sequoias are the largest.
Giant.
Yeah. Our win is not trying to frustrate you, but
Oh, God.
once again, we're going to be all over the place. And we're going to start in 2002 because that's really when this case breaks wide open. But then we're going to go back to the 1940s and work our way all the way up to 2025. Don't fret, because I think I've condensed it pretty well.
We'll see.
Some people collect stamps, but Peder Rasmussen, he collected fake names and dead girlfriends.
Yeah, he collected dead girlfriends?
They just ended up dead all around him.
So he collected girlfriends and they killed them.
Well, today we're going to dive into one of the most twisted and least talked about American serial killers, the guy police nicknamed the Chameleon Killer. He hid in plain sight, slipped through the states, he changed identities, and took women's lives. He left behind a trail of dismembered bodies, missing mothers, and one hell of a DNA puzzle that's taking decades to solve. So buckle up, because by the end of the story, you'll be side-eyeing anyone that you know who wants to suddenly change their name and insist on grocery shopping in another county.
Can I just tell you, one, that was some weird shit, and two, I don't know where people grocery shop. That's not like a thing that do you grocery shop in another county? Is this even your real name?
Well, we'll start at the end. So 2002. We're going to be in Richmond, California. A woman named Unsoon Young goes missing. Unsoon was a California-based chemist. She met a gruff, bearded handyman who introduced himself as Larry Vanner. The pair hit it off and began dating. In December of 1999, Unsoon brought her boyfriend home to meet her family. By 2001, the happy couple were married in an unofficial ceremony. I'm guessing that means they just didn't sign anything, but they had a wedding. I don't know what else an unofficial ceremony would be. I would assume unofficial means it was not officiated.
Which is weird. So they had like a commitment ceremony?
Pretty much.
All right.
The year following the couple's wedding is when Unsoon disappeared and she's reported missing.
Is it a wedding though if they're not married?
I don't know. She was considered his common law wife.
All right.
That's what they were. Yeah, it's a strange situation, but police ask around. They talk to Larry. They talk to the neighbors about Unsoon. They also ask a few questions about Larry. And the neighbor said, he's your average, slightly creepy Mr. Fix-It kind of guy.
What?
Yeah, that's how he's described. Except when the police dug further into Larry's story, they discover there is no Larry Vanner. There's no Larry Vanner in the DMV. There's no Larry Vanner with Social Security. He's a ghost, and not like a CIA type ghost, but this feller is like a liar, liar, pants on fire kind of ghost. So who is Larry Vanner? Well, Larry was...
Rasmussen.
Yep. Larry was actually a man named Peder Rasmussen. Terry was born in Denver, Colorado on December 23rd, 1943. He grew up in Arizona. He dropped out of high school during his sophomore year in 1960. He ended up enlisting in the Navy in 1961, where he trained as an electrician. He served his full contract with the Navy and then was discharged in 1967. Within a year of getting out of the Navy, Terry went on and married a woman in Hawaii on July 20th, 1968. They would go on to have twin daughters in 1969, a son in 1970, and another daughter in 1972. The growing family bounced between Phoenix, Arizona, and Redwood City, California. Terry was physically abusive and a terror to be around. He'd put a cigarette out on his son. Like, he's
Oh.
just, yeah, he's a piece of shit. And then Terry's wife sees the opportunity when Terry lost his temper and was arrested for assault on who? I'm not sure. It wasn't domestic, so I'm guessing it was on someone else. But he was arrested in June of 1975, and she took their 4 kids and got the hell out of Dodge. The family last saw Terry around January 1976 when he showed up at their home in Arizona with an unidentified woman. Terry told his wife he was living in Texas and needed a divorce. I tell you to remember this woman and that he said he was living in Texas. We will discuss at the end of this case. The divorce between Terry and his wife was finalized September 28th, 1978, and this shitbag left and never seemed to look back, which would turn out to be the best thing for his very lucky ex-wife and their very alive children. Terry not only moved frequently, but he also bounced between jobs. He worked as an electrician, a handyman, a mechanic, but his real career was a con artist.
His rear career?
Yep, sure was. He liked to back it up.
Ew.
Back to the missing woman, Unsoon Young. When police went out to search Unsoon's home, the house smelled disgusting.
She's dead.
They go down into the basement where the source of the smell seemed to be coming from, and it absolutely reeked. And no, it wasn't like a bad plumbing type of leak, but as the police poke around, sadly, they discovered Unsoon's body had been hacked into pieces and buried in cat litter.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Terry's brilliant crime scene cleanup, was cat litter. And for those of you who have ever had a cat or been in a house with a cat,
It doesn't cover up the turd smell.
yeah, I was going to say, you know, when your cat takes a giant dump and you think, wow, that's not hiding a thing.
That's not what I've ever thought, but all right.
Well, Terry apparently thought 40 pounds of fresh step kitty litter could hide the odor of a decomposing body. And spoiler,
Hold up. Where was her body?
in her basement, buried.
All right.
And spoiler, it did not mask the odor.
Clearly.
He was arrested in November 2002 and pled no contest in 2003 to the charges relating to Unsoon's murder and dismemberment, and he was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. The end.
No, it's not.
Just kidding.
I was sitting here darty-eyed of like,
So when Terry sat in prison, he was probably smug as hell, thinking he got away with all the other crimes police had failed to connect him to, because his story didn't start and end with the tragic murder of his girlfriend. Unsoon Young was just the final act of a life that was basically one long murder road trip. You see, Terry lived all over the United States. The states that so far he has been connected to include Arizona, Colorado, California, Idaho, Virginia, Texas, Ohio, Oregon, and Hawaii. And he settled in New Hampshire sometime in the late 70s. And while frequently moving is not a crime, every town Terry hit, he appears to have rebranded with a new alias. His constant reinvention is why cops missed him for decades. That, and I think the lack of technology.
yeah.
And now they're having to go back on cold cases to try to connect him to things, which is why I guarantee you his body count will be a lot higher.
Is he still alive?
I'm not telling you that yet. Every crime scene was linked to a different man, which is why the police failed to connect him. So now we're going to rewind the timeline back. I already told you about his youth, right, when he was born and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to pick up in the late 1970s. Terry had met a young woman named Marlyse Elizabeth Honeychurch. He met her in New Hampshire. Marlyse was born January 28th, 1954. She was 24 when she met Terry. Marlyse was a twice divorcee. She married her first husband when she was 17, and 6 months later, they had a little girl named Marie Vaughn. In February of 1974, Marlyse divorced her first husband, Marie's father, and then Marlyse then married her second husband in September. So I realize it's hard to keep up with those dates when I give them to you, but she divorced husband number one in February, and then in September of the same year, she's married to a new husband. And then about 2.5 years later, Marlyse and her second husband have a baby together, another little girl. This little girl's name is Sarah McWaters. By August 30th, the following year, Marlyse was separated from her second husband. From what I found, he was temporarily granted custody of their infant daughter,
Oh.
but Marlyse was granted visitation. I didn't really dig too much into that because it doesn't matter, but this is where we're going to cue in our shitbag, Terry. At this point, he's around 35. He's meeting Marlyse. She has 2 young daughters, and she's divorced twice, and she's only 24. Except when he meets Marlyse, he introduces himself as Robert Evans or Bob Evans.
Is he actually changing his name or just
No.
moving and saying this is his name?
Yeah, it's fake. It's not.
Official.
Yeah. So he's going by Bob Evans, which makes me think that his Tumby.
Makes me think of the restaurant. Are those still
Yes!
around?
I think Bob Evans went out of business.
He was at a stoplight and went, Bob. My name's Bob.
Or he was hungry when he met her and was like, oh, I could really go for a what? What? My name? Oh, Bob Evans. Yeah. But I'm going to still call him Terry.
Is his other alias going to be Mr. King? First name Burger?
You never know. But I'm going to continue to call him Terry. I'll let you know when he changes his name. I think it'd be too confusing to sit here and call him.
Bunch of different names, yeah.
Yeah. Marlyse brings Terry and her 2 little girls home to California for Thanksgiving in 1978 to her mom's house. And I guess they had some sort of wedding ceremony at some point because Marlyse began going by the last name Evans, because she thinks the love of her life is,
Bob.
yeah, Bob Evans. And in February of 1980, Terry was arrested for issuing a bad check. Then in May, he's arrested again for theft of services because he was stealing electricity. Then in October, he was arrested for diverting the electrical current. I have never been arrested, but I guess you put down who your next of kin is. And on the first 2 arrests, he put down Marlyse Evans as a spouse. But then on that 3rd arrest in October, he put that there was no one. So it was weird. At that point, Terry and Marlyse had been together for a few years. Marlyse's daughters, Marie was about 7 years old, and Sarah was about 3 at that point, and they were never seen or heard from again. The last time Marlyse's family saw Marlyse or the little girls was that Thanksgiving dinner in 1978. And then by 1980, they're just gone. By 1981, Terry was still living in New Hampshire. He's still going by the name Bob Evans when he meets a new woman. Her name is Denise Beaudin. Denise is also a single mother to a 5-month-old baby girl named Dawn. And Terry and Denise go to Denise's parents' house for Thanksgiving. He's got a thing for crashing Thanksgiving dinners. A week or so later, Denise's father drove out to invite his only daughter and her boyfriend, Bob Evans, to Christmas dinner. But her dad was shocked when he arrived at the apartment because it's vacant. There's nobody there. There's no trace of Denise.
This is like at least your second case where somebody's moved and not let their parents know.
But there's no trace of Denise or the baby or Terry or Bob.
That's gotta be heartbreaking.
Family and friends never saw her again. To this day, Denise has not been located.
Ugh. And that was on Christmas Day?
No, that was the week after Thanksgiving. Her dad was just swinging by and he's going to invite them over and just, he's just checking on them. It didn't seem like anything suspicious because he just saw him a week prior. And here's where Terry's identity juggling goes full circus.
What the fuck is full circus?
It means chaos. But Terry pops up in a couple years in California. Where he was in between there, nobody knows. But he gets hired at an electrical company in Los Angeles under the name Curtis Mayo Kimball.
He was making a sandwich.
Well, it made me think of Kindergarten Cop.
Mr. Kimball?
Yeah.
I don't think his name was Mayo.
It wasn't. I figured he wanted a sandwich. This sack, and the movie hadn't come out yet, so it's just coincidence. This sack of shit isn't alone this time, but he's not with Denise, who's been missing, but he's with a toddler who he's calling Lisa. By May of 1985, Terry, or Curtis, was arrested for drunk driving and child endangerment. He tells the police that the little girl's his daughter and that her mother ran out and left them both. Tries to do the whole boo-hoo, and police give him a court date that he has to appear to. This is where the story gets even more nightmarish. While Terry is in California getting his DUI, over in Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire, a hunter found a 55-gallon steel barrel. Curiosity got the better of this feller, and he decided to go ahead and pop the top on that metal 55-gallon barrel.
Bet he never does that again.
Inside, he found decomposing bodies. Obviously, police come out, all that. But it turns out it's one adult woman, guessed to be between the ages of 23 to 33 years old, and a female child around 5 to 11 years old, and they were wrapped in plastic, dismembered, and left to rot in the woods in the barrel. Their remains were unknown and would remain unknown for decades.
Ugh.
Terry, still going by Curtis, decided he didn't want to go to prison for that DUI, so he's like, heck with court, and just decided to up and leave, only to pop up again in an RV park in Scotts Valley, California, this time going by the name Gordon Jensen. During all of this, Terry was sexually molesting that little girl that he's dragging around with him.
Ugh. I thought you said she's a toddler.
She is.
Ugh. Whose kid is it?
We don't know. He's such a vile excuse for a human being, is all I can say. Anyway, it's now June 1986. Terry's on the run, same little girl that he's abusing. He's using yet another new name, the Gordon Jensen. Neighbors at the RV park noticed that little Lisa was dirty, she's neglected, she's very malnourished. And this kind couple named Richard and Catherine Decker, they're older, and they were staying near where Terry and little Lisa were staying at the RV park. And out of concern, they were like, hey, if you ever need help, we don't mind looking after little Lisa. And Terry's like, sure, take her. And while they were helping out with her, Terry packed his crap up and took off. He abandoned the little girl with these strangers like an unwanted puppy. That couple contacted police, and eventually their adult daughter ended up adopting and raising the little girl.
How old was she at that point? She's still a toddler or?
She's 6, somewhere around there. Their intervention, when they saw her like all malnourished and just really struggling, most likely saved her life. Terry basically changed his name like normal people change their clothes, except Terry would put on a new name, grab a new victim, and keep it moving. In September of 1986, during the police investigation for the abandonment of little Lisa, because now that she's safe, I guess it got put on the back burner of priorities, police discover that Gordon Jensen's fingerprints match the feller that they already had in their California system as Curtis Mayo Kimball, who was wanted for not showing up to court for his DUI and child endangerment charges. So they're like, this is the same feller. But then in November of 1988, Terry, because he don't know how to drive right, gets pulled over in California again. He tells this officer his latest name is Jerry Mockerman, but good old Terry Jerry is driving in a vehicle that's stolen from Preston, Idaho. So they're like, dude, you got to come on in. And now because he's still in California, and I guess the California police do a pretty good job communicating within the state, California connects Gary to Gordon Jensen to Curtis Kimball. They now realize that those 3 identities are all this same feller, and he's charged with child abandonment and sentenced to 3 years in prison.
And that was in the 80s?
In 88, yeah.
That was some good police work.
It really was. And he gets 3 years for abandoning little Lisa. And by October 1990, he's released from prison and back on the path of being rehabilitated. Just kidding. He skipped out on his parole the following day. From October 1990, when he dipped out on his parole, to June 1998, so 8 years, no one knows what he was up to or what aliases he was using. It has not been connected back to him. I do not believe he went on the path of becoming a law-abiding citizen for nearly a decade, but in June of 1998, Terry was pulled over again in California, and he was cited for not having a driver's license or car insurance.
Dude, he was driving really safely for 8 years.
And oh yeah, he was going by the name Lawrence William Vanner. So that's 1998, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when they know for a fact he's popped back up into the system. Then 15 years after that first barrel was found with the remains of the woman and the child in Bear Brook Park, now it's May 2000, police stumble upon another barrel, also in Bear Brook Park, New Hampshire, just 100 yards away from where the first barrel was found. They pop the top on that bad boy, and inside, 2 more bodies of children.
Oh.
These bodies appear to be the remains of a 2 to 4-year-old little girl, and the other was of a 1 to 3-year-old little girl. Now, the full horror, we're at 4 victims total, an adult woman, 3 little girls. The remains of the 3 little girls and the adult female showed that their cause of death was blunt force trauma with evidence of strangulation. Now, that brings us to June of 2002, how this horror story started with Terry, or Larry as he's going by at this point, his girlfriend Unsoon, being reported missing, and her dismembered remains were found in her basement in the cat litter, right?
Mhm.
By June of 2003, he pled no contest to the murder, right, and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. At this point, police and technology finally beginning to catch up with each other. By August of 2003, someone had the brilliant idea to do a DNA test on that little girl, Lisa. And the results came back that Terry was not the father. So who the heck did this little lady belong to? Like, where is her mom?
She's dead.
Terry Peder Rasmussen, while he was in prison at the High Desert State Prison, died on December 28, 2010, at the age of 67. As much as I would love to say he choked to death on a dick lodged in his throat or internal bleeding from his asshole hemorrhaging, his cause of death was a combination of lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and pneumonia. So basically, he coughed to death.
Yeah. And your meanest score is what? Go on.
It wasn't until July 2016, California's San Bernardino sheriffs reached out to New Hampshire police regarding Terry's connections to New Hampshire. In October 2016, DNA confirmed that the little girl who was guessed to be 2 to 4 years old found in one of the barrels, she was in fact Terry's biological daughter, which is mind-blowing because where did she even come from? In the story I just told you, when did he have a kid? That's during some of his missing time, right?
Yeah.
Where did this little girl come from? And who's her mother? Where is her mother? Because the dismembered remains of the adult woman in the other barrel was not that little girl's mother. So we have another missing woman out there.
Oh.
For the first 6 months of 2017, police began connecting the dots. They announced that Bob Evans was wanted in connection for the disappearance of Denise Beaudin because Denise's family did not stop looking for her or her little girl.
I thought he's dead.
They didn't connect that Bob Evans is Terry.
I gotcha.
They haven't connected that yet.
Oh, but Terry's dead, and they're still on the prowl for this fella.
For Bob, yeah. The police, they end up connecting the dots once more and hold a press conference announcing that Bob Evans was in fact the now deceased Terry Rasmussen. By June of 2019, we are in 2019, DNA confirms the unidentified woman and the two little girls were in fact Marlyse Honeychurch and both of her daughters, Marie Vaughn and Sarah McWaters. On a depressing yet uplifting note, Denise Beaudin, her parents never gave up looking for her. She was their only daughter. They had one son who was younger than Denise, and in 2001, Denise's younger brother died at the age of 41. Then her mother passed away in 2008, never knowing what happened to her daughter or her granddaughter. Her father, at this point, he's around 86 in 2016, and he received an unimaginable phone call from a genetic genealogist in California. This genealogist was helping a young woman named Lisa try to discover who she is and where her family roots come from. DNA confirmed that Lisa was his missing granddaughter, the little girl Dawn. Remember the 5-month-old baby?
Yeah.
That's who she is. I don't know why Terry kept her unless it was just for the disgusting fact that he was molesting this little baby.
At his convenience.
Yeah. But she's now an adult and she flew out to New Hampshire for a 3-day visit to meet her grandfather.
I hate when it's a case of next of kin and everybody keel over before they know anything.
Oh, it's so sad. And after so many losses in his life, Denise's father said getting his granddaughter back was a gift. He said part of his daughter still lives in her. In 2018, Lisa returned to New Hampshire to visit with her grandfather and introduce him to her husband and her 3 children. And from that point on, they kept in touch by phone and mail. So I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
And at 90 years old, Denise's father was still holding out hope that he would get word from investigators that Denise's remains were discovered so he could make arrangements to give his daughter a decent burial.
My God.
So sad. But this case still is not finished yet. I know it's been filled with lots of women and children and aliases and different dates, but remember way back in the beginning of this case, I told you Terry's first wife left and she took their 4 kids?
Uh-huh.
Remember the last time I said they saw Terry? He showed up at their Arizona house with an unidentified woman.
Uh-huh.
You don't really remember that, but that's okay.
No. You've thrown a lot at me.
I know. That woman was most likely a woman named Pepper Reed. Pepper was born in Texas, 1952.
Why do these people have food names?
Last time her family saw her was around Christmas time in 1975. She was with her boyfriend, Terry Rasmussen. He was still going by that name at that point, and she was pregnant. A birth certificate was later discovered confirming that Pepper Reed and Terry Rasmussen were the parents of a little girl that they named Rea Rasmussen.
Ew.
She was born in 1976. And if you're trying to keep up with Terry's path of destruction, his divorce from his wife was finalized in September of 1978.
2 years prior, a kid was born.
Right. And detectives doing their investigating ran DNA and confirmed this month, actually 3 days after I started working on this case, that the DNA confirmed the other little girl found in the barrel that was confirmed in 2000 to be Terry's biological daughter. Pepper is her biological mother. So that little unidentified girl is Rea Rasmussen, and Pepper's whereabouts are still unknown. She disappeared in the 70s and has never been seen or heard from again.
Can I just say I find it wild that you were working on a case as it was being broken?
Oh, I was sitting here trying to like unravel this timeline and trying to figure out the least confusing way.
Did you just get closer to your mic?
No, I got
Shit.
loud. Sorry.
My ear holes.
Well, it's just I was trying to like it's so confusing and there's so many people and there's different reports where at the time they were unidentified. So it makes it really hard to keep it separate and figure out who was who. And then in the process of trying to figure out who the little girls were and I was researching it, I saw that there was a live press conference because they just confirmed who the little girl was. And I was like, all right, so I need to hurry up with this case and one of my other cases are getting bumped out of the way to make room for this one. But I find it mind blowing because
I think it's a shame he's dead
oh, it's
because there's gonna be a whole lot of things that just go unanswered.
there's like 15 years unaccounted for with him that nobody knows what name he was going by, what state he was in. And I guarantee you, if they open up some of those cold cases and run it against him, I guarantee you he's got his DNA wrapped up in there somewhere because that's all he seemed to do. And that's why I say his wife and his first four kids are super lucky that they got out
Yeah.
because it seems like he just killed anybody and everybody.
I wonder, like, I know eventually when he goes to jail, I wonder if they were aware of the things.
They weren't.
No, no, not like what he was doing, but once he was in jail, if there was any sort of contact, if he tried to ever reach out to them.
To who?
His kids, yeah.
I don't think they ever heard from him again. But I know that his biological kids helped give DNA to help break some of the case. So did Lisa. Everybody just kind of chipped in. But there's so many people that are missing that have had interactions with him. And I could send you the pictures of him.
Is he another one with a divot?
No, but he for sure has a lot of different looks to him.
Or are these going to be all the mugshots of his personalities?
Pretty much.
Are you texting or emailing? Or throwing something in the mail?
I'm just going to send the email over because then you can just open that up. Did you get it?
Did you send it to our email or what?
Yeah, the homicide hobbies.
No.
Refresh.
There we go.
That is Terry, a serial killer, a con artist, piece of shit.
I could see where they didn't think that was the same person.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to me. He goes from like, not really a whole lot of hair to wildly unkept to bald.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you don't tend to your locks.
Yeah. He looks like a creepy feller.
It's really sick that he killed his daughter. Not that him killing anybody was okay.
Yeah. It's also sick that he kept a baby with him so that he could molest her.
Yeah, add that to the list of fuck uppery.
I think there's going to be a lot of other people connected to this piece of shit.
For sure. Well, that was a fucked up one.
Yeah.
And pretty crazy the span of time it stretched.
Right? Dude, like, when I was sitting there, I had a tough time at first because it was like they confirmed in 2000 that the little girl in the barrel was Terry's biological daughter. I was like, okay, well, I don't understand how 25 years later it's breaking news. And it was, no, they confirmed that her mother was Pepper Reed and she too is missing. So not only they knew in 2000 that he was biologically her father, but still didn't know who she was. But now they've a few days ago, they just put it together that she is the daughter of Pepper and Terry and that her name is Rea. But I'm glad they finally put names to faces. I hope that all these missing ladies get found so their families can have closure. And there's missing people out there that need to be connected and found for their families. I'm glad technology's caught up.
Yeah. So that way they don't have these long stretches ever again.
Well, that and the families can get some answers.
That too.
That's all I've got.
For your Burger King. Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the